All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that have different numbers but are the same value. So it says right here, find a fraction that represents the same part of a whole as 4/6 or 4 out of 6. Use the fraction strip to help solve this. So if we look at the fraction strips, we can see that this strip right here is equal to 1. We can also see that if we have 1/3 3 times, it's equal to 1. If we have 1/6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, it's equal to 1. And if we have 1/9, 9 times, equal to 1. And 1/12, 12 times is equal to 1. So it says the fraction strips show equivalent fractions. So 2/3 is equal to 4/6 is equal to 6/9 is equal to 8/12. So all of these fractions are different, but they have the same value. So it says find a fraction that represents the same part of a whole as 4/6. So we're going to find something that is the same as 4/6. So if we look right here, 4/6 is this section right here. This green section right here. So that's 4/6 because we have 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So 1 is too big to be 4/6, but we have these two thirds right here that are the same. So something that we can see that is the same as 4/6 is 2 of the thirds. So that's 2/3. Another thing that is equal to 4/6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ninths. And another thing that is equal, another section that is equal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 twelfths. So we can see all 4 of these fractions have different numbers, but they're all equal the same. They all have the same value. So let's go ahead and look at this section. So it says up here, fractions that have different numerators and denominators, but the same amount are called equivalent fractions. Equivalent is another way of saying equal. So this strip shows all of the fractions that can be equal. So right here, one way that we can find an equivalent fraction is by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the same non-zero number. That just means multiplying it by a number that isn't 0. So any number but 0. So we can see right here that they multiplied 10 times 2 to get 20. And then they multiplied 15 times 2 to get 30. So that gave them 20 over 30. And 10 over 15 and 20 over 30 are equivalent fractions. So those two are the same value. Another way that we can do it is through division. You can divide the numerator and the denominator by the same non-zero number if they can both be divided evenly. So this is very important. If they can both be divided evenly. So you cannot divide 10 over 15 by 2. You can divide it by 5. We can see they divided it by 5. And they got 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. Now, that wouldn't have worked if they had divided it by 2, because 15 does not go evenly into 2. So you have to find a number that is divisible by both the top and the bottom are divisible by. So we can see that 10 over 15 and 2 over 3 are equivalent fractions. So I'm going to do a couple of problems with y'all. So right here we have 2 over 4, and we are finding an equivalent fraction by multiplying 2 over 4 times 2 over 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now we're looking at the division way to find the answer now. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we have 2/4, 4/8, and 1/2 that are all the same value. All of them equal half. We can see that 2 is half of 4, 4 is half of 8, and 1 is half of 2. So all three of these fractions have the same value. All right, let's go ahead and look at 6 over 10. So one way that I could do, that I could find an equivalent fraction is by multiplying it. We're going to multiply it again by 2. So we could get 12 over, or I'm sorry, I forgot to put the 2. Multiply it by 2 equals 12 over 20. So 12 over 20 is an equal fraction. Now let's go ahead and multiply. Let me see. Can I divide them both by 2? 6 is divisible by 2, and so is 10. So yes, I can divide both the top and the bottom by 2. And that would get me 3 over 5. So we can see 6 over 10, 12 over 20, and 3 over 5 all have the same value. All three of them are the same. Now let's look at 4 over 9. Can I divide 4 over 9 to get an equivalent fraction? Is there a number that is divisible by 4 and by 9? So there's not a number that you can divide by to get even numbers with 4 and 9. So that means that we have to multiply. We have to multiply the top and the bottom. Let's go ahead and do by 3 to get an equivalent fraction. So 4 times 3 is 12. And 9 times 3 is 27. So 4 over 9, 12 over 27 are equivalent fractions. I can also do 2 So 4 times 2 is 8. 9 times 2 is 18. So we have 8 over 18, 12 over 27, and 4 over 9. And remember, we cannot divide because there is no number that both of these have in common that they are divisible by. But let's look at number 4. Number 4 is 24 over 48. So there are a couple of ways that we can find the answer to this. If you would like to multiply, a couple of my students did this in the last class. You can multiply by 10, both the top and the bottom, and you can get 240 over 480. You can multiply by any number, but you have to make sure that you divide only when both of the numbers have a number in common. So let's go ahead and look what they have in common. So if we divided both 24 and 48 by 24, that would give us 1 over 2. If we divided both of them by 4, that would be, hold on, let me check my math. 24 divided by 4. Nope. Sorry, 6. Here we go. So if we divided both the top and the bottom by 4, that would give us 6 over 12. And there are a lot of possibilities that we could have that are equivalent fractions. If you notice, any fraction that is 1/2 is equivalent to 24 over 48 because 24 is half of 48. So we could do 12 over 24 if we're just doubling this one. So all of these are half, 1/2, and all of them equal the same. 1/2 is equal to 6 over 12, is equal to 12 over 24, is equal to 240 over 480, is equal to 24 over 48. So all of these are half. Now let's look at this top one. So it says explain why 1/2 of an apple is not equal to 4/8 of a pizza. So if we look at this fraction, we can see that 1 is half of 2 and 4 is half of 8. So if we multiply both the top and the bottom by 4, it'll get us to this fraction. But they wanted you to think of why half of an apple is not equivalent to 4/8 of a pizza. Well, an apple is a lot smaller than a pizza. So you could have half of an apple and half of a pizza. But which one's going to fill you up a little bit more? I think the pizza. I would go with the pizza. All right, so let's look at number 6. Number 6 is just like number 3. It says, why wouldn't you use division to find an equivalent fraction for 7/15? Well, if we look at 7/15, we can't think of anything to divide them both by that would give us an even number. We could divide 15 by 3 to get 5, or by 5 to get 3. But we can't divide 7 by 3, and we can't divide 7 by 5. So there is no number that would give us an even number if we divided them both by the same number. So that is why we would need to multiply to get this to be an equivalent fraction. We cannot use division if there is not an equal. Let's do it by 2. We cannot use division if there is not a number that will get you both the bottom and the top an equal number, or an even number, sorry. So we would have to use division to make it a equivalent fraction. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Email me with any questions. If y'all need any help, let me know if you thought this was easy. I'll be posting the assignment right now.